You are welcome to my channel where you'll be learning trending digital skills. And you're also welcome to this 15-minute crash course on SQL Aggregation Functions. I'm Busari Akeem, and today you will learn how to efficiently summarize and analyze your data using functions like sum, average, and more. Master these techniques will hide and streamline your data analysis. What are aggregation functions? Aggregation functions in SQL are used to calculate a single result from a set of input values. They help in summarizing data. Think of totals, averages, counts, maximum, minimum that are essential for report generations. We are going to take these functions one after the other and practically demonstrate how it works. And we're going to use a sample data for the demonstration. The ones that will be covered, the functions, the aggregation functions that will be covered in these videos are the sum, the counts, the average, the maximum, the minimum, the group, and the halving. So this is the data set. This is the table we are going to use for our practical class. And when you look at this, is a record of an employee. In the table, we have employee ID. That is an ID that uniquely identifies each of the employee in the record. We have employee name, that each name for each employee, and the department in which the employee belongs to, the salary of each of employee, the age of employee, the gender, male and female. F is for female, while M is for male, and the date the employee is being hired into the company. So this is the data set we are going to use, and let me expand it so that you can see it very well. So you could see for 101, we have Alice here, and Alice is in sales department, and Alice's salary is 55,000, and Alice is 28 years in age, and Alice is a female, and Alice was employed in 2022, 15th of January. So similar to Bob, Charlie, and Diana, we have their detailed records there, and this is the database we are going to use for this practical class. Let's move into the SQL Server Management Studio, the IDE we are going to use. So I will launch my SQL Server. I have it here. And what you are seeing is the SQL Server Management Studio environment. I have the data. If you come to Object Explorer, you will see I have aggregate functions. And in the aggregate function database, I imported the employee table. And all I did was to open this guy, and that's the tab you are seeing here. So these are the functions, like I said earlier, that we're going to cover in this practical class. We're going to discuss about counts. We'll look at sum. We'll look at maximum. We'll look at minimum. We will also consider average. And then we'll consider the group, right? The first is sum. What is sum? What do we use the sum functions for? And why do you need to use the sum function? This function adds all the numeric values in a column. For example, in our employee dataset, sum function can add all the salaries to give total payroll expenditure. So let's practically demonstrate this. So what we want to generate the total payroll expenditure for all the staff. Let's look at the table first so that we'll explain what this is going to do for us. So this is the table, this is the data set, this is the table. And then we want to know, if you look at this place, this is the salary, this is the table of employee, and this is the salary column. And this salary column, we want to know how much. When we had all the employees' salaries together, how much are we going to get in total? So how much is going to be the total payroll expenditure for the company? So to be able to do that, we are going to use a sum function to sum it up to add all the numerical values in the column. And our column this time around is salary, because is salary, the company is interested in knowing the total payroll expenditure. This company is interested in knowing how much in total is the salary of employees. So what we are going to do is I'm going to let me start from the beginning so that you won't get confused. So I'll use select, right select. Where are we selecting? What are we selecting? Which column do we need? We are working on, we are interested in getting the salary. So I'll say this, and where are we getting it from? We are picking it from, what's the name of our table? Employee. So we said pick it from employee. Okay. And then we said, what are those things we are picking from employee? We need salary. Salary. We can see this. So when I say pick this from employee, so when I run this guy, you could see it's showing me only the salary. So this upper side is where we'll be writing our query, and below here is where you'll be seeing the result. So what I said is show me only the salary from the employee table. And that is why when I run this guy, you are seeing only the salary in the result out. So what we are interested actually is to get the summary, the total payroll expenditure for all the employees. So how much in total is the company going to pay out as salary to employee? So since that is what I'm interested, we are going to introduce a function that we just mentioned, sum. And this is the syntax. You put sum, open bracket, and the column you are interested to sum up will be inside the bracket. So in our case, is salary is the sum of the salary we want. And when we run this is going to give us a sum. You could see we have 635,000 as the total payroll expenditure. After the sum aggregate function we demonstrated, the next is average function. An average calculates the average value. It is perfect for finding the mean salary of overall employee, and you can as well use it to calculate the mean salary per department. So let's see how we can use the average to calculate the mean salary for overall employee. So for average, the syntax is AVG. It stands for average. I will open the bracket and I'll close the bracket, and then I will specify inside the bracket the column that I want to calculate the mean value for. So in our own case is salary, and I'll pick this salary. And once I run this one, the query, I'm going to look at it down and I'll see 63,500 as the average salary for all our employee. So this is our dataset, this table we're using, and what that thing has done for us is to sum up all these salary column, all the values in this salary column, and divide it by the total number of this to get the count, to get the average value for all the employees. So we can as well use this same formula, this syntax, this AVG, to calculate the average salary per department, but we are going to do that later. But what we've demonstrated now is to use the AVG, the average, to calculate the average salary for the overall employee. The next aggregate function we are going to look at is maximum and minimum to find the extremes. To find maximums and minimums, we use max and min. For instance, we can determine the highest and the lowest salary in our data sets. So for the maximum, that is for the highest salary, we're going to use the max, and this is the syntax, max, and then the maximum, the highest value of what are we trying to get? We are trying to get the highest value of the salary. So if I run this for the max, it's going to show me the highest salary for the overall within everything for all the employees. This is the person, this is the highest salary in our data set. So to make this better, I'll just introduce alias, and I'll call this as I'll target highest salary. Target highest. Is it correct? No. Highest. I'll call it highest salary. So I can just introduce square bracket here. I'll close the square bracket so that I'll be able to introduce space in between this. So I'll call it highest salary. So if I run this one, then you can see the column head is now showing highest salary, and the query is telling us that among all the employees, 75,000 naira is the highest salary. So if you come back here, look at it, you have 55, 60,000, 75, and you take a look at this record. At a glance, you also be able to know it's 75,000. But this will be useful when you have a large number of records that you cannot easily see at a glance. So the next one is the minimum salary, where we're going to use the mean to calculate the lowest salary. We can also do the same thing to check for the minimum salary, and in that case we're going to use mean, MIN, mean salary, and all I need to do is to change here, because this time around we are looking for the lowest salary. So I'm going to call this place lowest, I'll call it lowest salary. So if I run this query and I execute it, you can see I have 50,000 naira as the lowest salary. And you can take a look at the column head, because I've indicated here that it should be called lowest salary. And you can see what I have here is now lowest salary. And our lowest salary here is 50,000. So if you come back to the data set, the record, take a look at this, and you discover that the least amount you have here is 50,000. So the function of the mean is to return the lowest value of the specific column you are looking at. So we demonstrated the maximum, the minimum. We've also covered the sum, and we've covered the average value for the overall. So let me put all of them together and then run them at the same time as a single query and see what you are going to get. However, before then, let me see, we've demonstrated how you can calculate it for overall, but let me see how I can calculate this department. So let me start from the first one. I'll put all of them and I'll see how, well, let me take it one after the other first. Assuming I want to calculate the sum for each of the departments, look at it, the data set. You have department here, we have six, we have IT, we have HR, we have finance. And you can see two people belongs to, we have about three, six, and then we have another person in the six. That's Isaac is in sales. Alice belongs to sales department, Bob belongs to the sales department. So we want to know the sum of those people in each of the department. What is total amount expenditure for the sales department? What is the total amount of salary expenditure for IT? What is this salary total amount for the HR? So in that case, we are going to use another aggregate function that is called group by. So let me do that sum. This is going to give us the total amount of expenditure. Total of what are we looking at? Salary. Okay, salary. Then I'll close the bracket. Remember, this is what we use to do the overall. If I run this one, it's going to show me the overall salary for everyone, for all the employee. I'm going to introduce an aggregate function called grouped by. Type in this way, group by. And what are we grouping it by? We want to group it by department. So say group by department. I'll bring group by department. This is the column name I want to use to group it. And then if I run this guy, it's going to show me the department and the sum, the total expenditure for each of the departments. So here I want to give it alias. I will just call it total salary per department. You can actually separate them and then introduce it. You can put all of them inside these square brackets. If I want to use space in between them, I'll say total salary per department. So if I run this query, this is what I'm going to see, total salary per department. This is T, total salary per department. So you can see this is showing me the total salary, total expenditure for each of the department. So apart from the sum, I can do the same thing. I can calculate the highest salary value for each of the department. So I can repeat the same thing here. And I'll for salary, and I'll call it as I'll call it total salary for the department. So I'll call it total salary, okay, per the department. You can see what the group by is doing for us is, grouping the salary per department. So for finance, you can see what's um, the, this is not total salary, this is highest salary. This is highest salary per department. So if I run it again and execute it, you are going to see that if you look at the finance record, the highest salary there is 69,000. And if you look at the HR, those people that belongs to HR department, the highest salary among them is 52. And for IT, this is it. And then for the sales, is 62,000 naira. Okay, that is the highest salary per department. So we can also get the minimum salary per department by introducing the mean aggregate function, and I'll do the salary as is the column, and I'll close it. That's the symbol, and I'll use as. Then I can just copy this to save time and change it to lowest salary. So I'll come in and said instead of highest, since we're using the mean function, then I'll use the lowest salary. And if I run this, max as lowest salary per department. So let's run this and see. Mean, not max. We call it mean. It's mean. That's the minimum salary. Please take note. So if I execute this, you can see it's showing me the lowest salary. And when you look at this, we have in finance department, we have 67,000 as the lowest salary. And in HR, we have 50,000 as the lowest salary. So let's cross check. We have just two people in the HR. And you see, we have 50,000 and we have 52,000. So the lowest in HR should be 50. So let's go back to our query and see. So you can see the HR, you see, is 50,000 naira. So this is the sum, this is maximum, this is the minimum, okay? And then you can do same thing for count. I want to know how many that you wanted to count how many people are there per department. So you can use counts. That should count the number of people in each of the departments and show you how many of them in each of the department. Employee underscore ID, I think so, if I'm not mistaken. And then you can call this as, you can tag this as number or total number of total. Introduce square bracket so that you can introduce space in the name. Total number of employee per department. Imagine I'm using this just for demonstration purpose. In real life, I'm not going to put it this way. There's a way I will put this name so that it will be shorter and it will be easier for me to retrieve when I'm, querying my database. So I can call it total number of employee per department. You could see. So you see, in finance we have 2, in HR we have 2, in IT we have 3. So if you come to our dataset and check it, in finance we have just 2 people, 1, 2. In IT we have just 2. In CS we have 3, 1, 2, and 3. And in IT you see 1, 2, 3. So go back to our query and check. So for IT we have how many? We have 3. For CS we have how many here? We have 3. For finance we have 2. For HR we have 2. So you can see it's the same thing as that one. And you can also use the average value. You can also calculate the average value per department. So I'm trying to put all of them together so that you see how it works. Remember, we have AVG for average, and then this is it, and then we are taking salary column,
I will do this, and then we're going to call this we'll call this target as average salary. So average salary per department. Average salary per department. So we have demonstrated how you can use the sum aggregate function, the max aggregate function, the mean aggregate function, the count aggregate function, and the average aggregate function, and how you can use them for the overall dataset, and how you can use the group by to segregate it or to group it in or to categorize it per department. So with this, we have come to the end of this tutorial.
And that is it for our deep dive into aggregation functions. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more tutorials.